love op shopping. I mean, maybe it's not your thing, but what's not to love? It's good for people, it's good for the planet, and it's good for my pocket. And the truth is, the Salvation Army is also my church, so op shops, kinda in our DNA. But every time I come here, I always wonder, what's the story behind this stuff? True, some things we buy knowing there's no way we're gonna hold on to it. We weren't that attached to it in the first place. But some stuff you just look at and you know that this really meant something to someone. Once upon a time, someone was all in for this thing. So my question is, how did it end up here? You know, when I was a kid, I was super into horses. Yes, you can laugh, but back in my day, girls had to pick a team, you know, team horse or team dolphin. So naturally I chose team horse. I had horse posters, horse pencils. I even wrote in my Bible that when I grew up, I wanted to be a horse person, whatever the heck that means. I was all in for this horse life. And I had these amazing things called the Pony Pal books, and they were the coolest books in the whole world. I used to imagine what it would be like to own my own horse and be the coolest instead of the weirdest kid in school. I got pretty close too, by the way, to having a horse. One day, my dad came home from work and I heard the 6 words I've been waiting to hear my whole life. Missy, I brought you a pony. My dream was finally coming true. I would no longer be the weirdo. I'd be the weirdo with a horse. I'd brush its hair, I'd go for rides. We would be BFFs. Well, it turns out my dad hadn't actually talked to my mum about the horse buying thing, and we didn't have any money for the horse or anywhere to keep the horse, and so my mum said no. And the horse dream, it seemed dead, but it didn't matter. I was all in. A little later, something amazing happened. We were getting ready for the intermediate carnival, and Rosie, a girl from my school, was bringing her real horse for pony rides. She knew I loved horses and asked me if I wanted to be the one to walk the horse around the track. My dream was alive again. So the day arrived. I got out of the car and rushed towards where the horse track was. But before I knew it, my run became a walk, and my walk became, well, frozen as I stood on the spot looking at this gigantic beast. I realized something for the first time. I'd actually never been up close to a horse before, and I was petrified of them. I gave an excuse to get away from this monster creature and never went back. I actually kept my Pony Pal books for a long time, but I never read one again. My horse dream was over. Something I once loved, I'd lost. Have you ever thought about that for yourself? Why do some things in our life seem so important only to fade away? How can we be so sure about something and wake up one day to realize it's just a distant memory? Somewhere along the way, the thing we love, we lost. Can you imagine how much the disciples must have loved Jesus? I mean, for 3 years, this random group of young people spent basically every day, every meal, every moment with this man who was an absolute game changer. I mean, he was radical. He steps onto history's stage and turns the whole thing upside down. Jesus honors people of every gender, color, and background. No matter what people had done, where they were from, or what society said about them, Jesus made up his own mind. He looked at people's hearts, their inner motivations. He was all in for humanity. Feed the hungry, heal the sick. He did it all. Even Jesus' followers were surprised by him. They were hoping Jesus was going to make them powerful. But Jesus wasn't building that kind of kingdom. The world had enough of those, he said. Jesus wanted something else. He wanted what God did. Love, mercy, justice, kindness, compassion, freedom. So he gathers these people who were up for the mission, who could go all in on the adventure. This was it, they thought. We'll be following Jesus for the rest of our lives. And then Jesus dies. Killed. Age 33. Killed for pursuing justice. Killed for daring to be a friend to the friendless. Killed for choosing compassion over rules. For for trying to hold the rich and powerful to account for their acts of oppression. Killed for daring to show the world what God was really like and showing that what that looked like was love. Jesus is dead. And his friends, where are they now? The Bible says that most of them went back to their old jobs, their old lives. Their Jesus following days were done. In the last few years, a number of studies have been done around the world with similar results. After high school, around 50% of students, half, drift away from their faith in Jesus. One guy told the story of his faith like this. You know, in high school, he said, my faith was like a jacket. I mean, not just any jacket, my favorite jacket, and I took it with me everywhere. After a while, I started noticing there were some places I went where it just wasn't that cool wearing the jacket. Sometimes it was easier to leave the jacket behind. Soon, I found myself hanging the jacket up in my wardrobe. I knew if I needed a jacket, it'd be there. I just didn't need it every day, you know. And then one day I was packing my bags to go to uni, and there it was, the jacket, right at the back of the wardrobe. I looked at it for a bit. I mean, there were some pretty cool memories wearing this jacket. We'd been through some serious stuff. But that's all they were now, memories. I hadn't worn it for a while. The truth is I'd kind of forgotten it was even there. I guess if I wasn't wearing it, I figured I must not need it, right? So I folded it up, put it in a box, and left the jacket behind. You know, it's one thing to be all in. It's another to be all in no matter what. And today on Māori, the word for faith is whakapono. It's alive, living, breathing, active action. No matter what isn't just about something we say. It's not wishful thinking. It's a choice we make every day. It's 1,000 daily decisions that make up the rest of our lives. It's the decision to show up for Jesus like he did for us on the cross. And some, no matter what, moments will be big, but most they'll happen on the daily. It's every little decision, the orientation of our hearts, our inner motivation that makes us no matter what people. Jesus is dead. 1, 2, 3 days in the tomb. And the disciples had gone back to their own lives. Yeah, they were all in, but not no matter what. All except a couple. Mary. Mary, who was taught by Jesus, walked and talked and supported Jesus. Mary, the last at the cross and the first at the tomb. See, death wasn't the end of Mary's faith. Death was not the end of the decision for Mary to follow Jesus. She'd made the call to be all in no matter what. For Mary, Jesus changes everything. So she shows up. She shows up when it doesn't make sense, when it was dangerous, and when it was hard. She showed up when others had moved on and given up hope. She said, no matter what, I know what Jesus has done for me, and no matter who walks away, I will not. And so she did the only thing she could. She kept going, kept Jesus at the center. See, it's one thing to be all in, but what about in the spaces where it's not cool? When youth group's over, or when your parents are teasing you about your Christian faith? What about when your friends don't want to do the Jesus thing anymore? What then? Is our faith just like a jacket, on, off, gone? Or is it whakapono, living, breathing, active? Not just something that we have, but something that we are. The question we have to ask ourselves is, not are we all in, but are we all in no matter what? 3 days have passed. Jesus is dead, and Mary is at the tomb again, devastated, confused, but committed. She's choosing to show up for Jesus, to keep faith living and breathing. Whakapono. And then something happens. Someone else is at the grave, someone who she doesn't recognize. He looks like a gardener, but he's actually an angel. Don't cry, Mary, the angel says. Jesus isn't here. He's not dead. He's alive. Go, tell the others. Mary, the first at the cross, the last at the cross, the first at the tomb, the first to hear the life-changing news that Jesus is back from the dead. Mary, the first ever follower of Jesus to be asked to share the story, the first preacher, the first evangelist, the first carrier of this great news. This woman who showed up for Jesus now sees him showing up for her, breaking glass ceilings and opening doors, making a way for women to be seen and heard. Given the responsibility for the most important news of all time, Jesus lives. Jesus, who went all in for humanity, is all in no matter what. Even death can't stop him. His love for us is limitless, and he longs for us to find our freedom and identity in him. That's Easter Sunday. Whakapono, a faith no matter what. I wonder what our story will be. In 1 year, 5 years, 50 years. Will our faith be like the story of a little girl who loved horses, the thing that got her through school but gave it up when it was uncomfortable? Or will it be like a jacket, on and off? Something we were all in for a season maybe, but ends up lost, forgotten, irrelevant to the way we begin to live our lives? Or will it be something more? Something like Mary's, something that shapes us and makes us who we are, an identity not in ourselves or the changing world around us, but in the person of Jesus. True, this faith adventure is not an easy one, but Jesus changes everything. He changes how we live our lives, how we respond to our enemies, what we might do for work and how we do that work, how we spend our money, how we love ourselves. We won't get to no matter what life on accident. We won't get to lifelong faith without little steps along the way. Whakapono is in every habit, every action, every choice that we make that keeps our heart on Jesus. It's the choice to stand up when your friends are talking rubbish about someone else, and you choose to say it's not okay. It's the decision to act on your faith and show up for your faith community, whether that be church or Bible study or service. It's the decision to show kindness, love, respect to someone that others might ignore. And it's the decision to spend time getting to know God, how much he loves you and how much he loves this world. Jesus called his followers, and he's calling you, all of you, and he's calling the modern day Marys. You who are the most unlikely, the biggest weirdos. You who have known sadness, oppression, injustice. You who don't fit the mold. You who have glass ceilings to break and a voice to be seen and heard. You're included. You matter. He will not leave you behind. For us, no matter what followers of Jesus, this faith's no jacket. It's no on and off. Jesus is more than an optional extra. He changes everything. He's the choice that influences everything else. He's the most real part of who we are. And when we're faced with choices, and despite the many mistakes we'll make along the way, we always come back to him, no matter what. Jesus gave his life for us, for you, and now he lives to enable us to keep following him. He's all in this no matter what, and he's calling us to do the same, to give our living to him, to be his no matter what followers. So here's my only question. Are you in?